Hello everyone, how are you doing today? Welcome to the video series on interesting topics of modern Python programming, and in this particular video we will talk about tuples in Python. Tuple is a part of built-in sequence type of Python which also include list and range. Now I have already created couple of videos on list. I will highly recommend you to go ahead and look into those videos because we are going to learn tuples in comparison with list. Now whenever you learn a programming language, it has lots of things and you cannot remember each and everything. That's why you should learn in comparison with few things. For example, in this case we are going to learn in comparison with list, so that if we know list, we also know tuples and we can know the difference as well as similarities between list and tuples. So here are things we are going to cover in this particular video. We are going to introduce ourselves to tuples, how to create tuples, usage of tuples, packing and unpacking of tuples, very important, and there are some programming tricks you may end up using while using tuples. Now, tuples, just like list, is a kind of arrays equivalent in Python programming language, similar to what we have in C, C++, Java or JavaScript. They are basically arrays. So let's go ahead and understand tuples in Python. Also, by the end of this video, you will know under what circumstances you can consider tuples and under what circumstances list is a better option. Now let's start with list. I have already talked about list. Here is how we can create a list. Okay, list or arrays in Python. And here is how we create tuples. The difference between list and tuple is parenthesis and square bracket. Okay, if you provide square brackets, you are creating list. If you provide parenthesis, you are creating tuples. Make sense? Now once you have created tuples, how can you access the tuples? Just like list, tuple can be accessed by using parentheses. So I can say list 1 or I can say tuple subscript. Both will give me same output, which means that the way we access list and tuples are same. Remember this. Now again, just like lists, we can also create nested tuples. So in this particular list, we have an internal list over here. 4, 5, 6 itself is a list, and we can actually print the nested list. Similarly, in tuple, we can create nested tuple. Again, in here 4, 5, 6 is a nested tuple and we can print the same. Again, very similar to list. List and tuples are same till now, other than the way you create it. Okay. Lists are iterable, so does tuples. So I can iterate through a list and print the list, and I can iterate through a tuple and print the tuple. Now you might be wondering, what's the difference? The biggest difference is tuples are immutable, lists are mutable, which means that if I do this, this is valid and first element of the list will be changed from 1 to 100. But this is invalid. It is not going to impact tuples. So once you create a tuple, you cannot modify it, which means tuples are immutable. The first and probably the biggest difference between list and tuples are mutability and immutability. Okay. Now if you want to modify a tuple, there is no direct way. You can create a list from a tuple like this, and then you go ahead and modify it because you have created a list out of tuple. Similarly, you can create a tuple out of a list in the same way. Now, important thing, as I have told you in my list video, that list can be homogeneous as well as heterogeneous. That's one unique thing about Python list as compared to languages like C, C++ or Java. Since there is no strong data type you define, Python lists are heterogeneous, can be heterogeneous. Similarly, tuples can also be heterogeneous. So here is a tuple which is having integer, floating point, string. all of them and you can create heterogeneous tuples. Now let's talk about something which is not at all common with lists. They are packing and unpacking of tuples. This is very important. So you remember that while creating tuples, we give parentheses, this one and this one. We don't need to provide that, and if we don't do that, it will create a tuple by default, and this is called packing. Okay, you cannot create list by this. Okay, if you do this, you can get only and only tuples. So in here you got tuples with any number of elements that are being written over here. It's a comma separated elements, very similar to creating tuples other than parentheses. Now the way we packed the tuples, created the tuples by packing, you can unpack that also. So there are 5 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can just declare 5 variables and get tuple in it. So in here A will be 1, B will be 2, C, D, E will be hello world and 100. Okay, so you can very easily unpack the tuple also, but partially unpacking is not allowed. If you do this, you will get an error. Now this functionality of tuples is not available in list. You cannot pack and unpack the list. Okay. Now let's talk about negative indexing. So I have already talked about slicing of list. What is meant by negative indexing? Sometimes people gets confused with negative indexing, but there is no need to be confused. Whenever you give a negative index, just consider that number as subtracted from the overall length of the list or a tuple. So length of the tuple is 5, and if I say tuple minus 2, 5 minus 2 is 3. So it prints the word which is tuple 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now let's also talk about slicing of tuples. This works exactly similar to slicing of list. There is no difference. The principle is inclusive exclusive principle, which means that when I am providing colon separated items, the first number is inclusive, third is exclusive, which means that in this case 0 index will be included, 3 will be excluded. So it will be 0, 1 and 2. And if we want to print starting from 0 till the end, we can say 0 colon without specifying anything. And if I say 2 colon without specifying anything, it will start from index 2 and print till the end of the tuple. Okay. Similarly, I can start from 1 and end at 2. What will it print? Think about it. 0, 1 index will be printed, but second index will be excluded, which means only one item, which is 2. Now let's talk about one programming trick. I told you that tuples are immutable. We cannot change them, right? But if the elements inside the tuple is mutable, we can change those mutable elements. So I have created a list, and inside the tuple I have passed this particular list called value. Now you can see that my tuple is 1, 2, 100, 200, 300. Now tuples are immutable. So tuple will make sure that value cannot be changed, but what value represents can be changed. So if I change value 0 to 999, the first element will be changed to 999, even if tuples are immutable but lists are not. Okay. Don't try to remember tuples as a separate entity. Just always remember tuples and lists side by side. You will be able to remember most of the things I have talked about. Now where to use tuples and where to use list? Tuples you can use mostly for immutability or unpacking or packing criteria. There are no other prominent reasons for using tuples. So that's all for this particular video. Thanks a lot people. Thanks for watching. Till the next time we meet. Good day, goodbye. You take care.